Batman the Animated Series is filled with iconic episodes that have left an indelible mark on the hearts of fans. From explosive confrontations with colourful rogues, to emotionally charged explorations of what it means to be human, warts and all. The series has delivered some exceptional storytelling, especially when you consider that it was a kids' cartoon. However, there are some episodes, particularly early in the show's run, that just kind of exist. I wouldn't say that there's anything fundamentally wrong with them, but they don't live up to the high standards set by the rest of the series. One such episode is The Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy, which I'm confident will appear on the mid to bottom end of most fans' personal BTAS episodes tier lists. It was definitely on the lower end of mine. At first glance, the episode might seem like another villain of the week story. Batman faces off against an antagonist with a relatively simple goal: to steal his cape and cowl. But, as is often the case with this series, there's more to it than that. One of the things that separates The Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy from most other BTAS episodes is that it is a close adaptation of a comic book, Detective Comics 450, The Cape and the Cowl Death Trap, published in 1975. Note that the TV censors of the time wouldn't allow any references to death. They couldn't even say that someone was dead, so the title was changed, despite the fact that there wasn't much of a conspiracy within the episode. Still, I appreciate the alliterative title. The comic was written by Elliot S. Maggin, who also wrote the script for the episode, by the way, with art by Walter Simonson, and it introduced Jeremy Wormwood, a master of traps and trickery. In the original story, Wormwood is hired by a Mr. Harcourt to retrieve Batman's cape and cowl after Batman had fiercely interrogated him to find out who had paid for a senator to be assassinated. Harcourt didn't know who the mastermind was, but he did know who pulled the trigger: Wormwood. Harcourt contacted the assassin, asking him to trap Batman and take his cape and cowl to embarrass him. Wormwood lured Batman to a wax museum and bombarded him with the heat lamps on the highest setting. Batman, realizing that there was no way out, relented and handed his cape and cowl to Wormwood. When Wormwood took his bounty back to Harcourt, he asked him why he wanted the cowl, a secret Harcourt would only disclose if Wormwood told him who had hired him to assassinate the senator. The story culminates in a clever twist, where Batman reveals he had been impersonating Harcourt all along, and he had tricked Wormwood into confessing his guilt, which led to his incarceration. So if you've seen the episode, this will sound pretty familiar, but there are some key differences. Wormwood is renamed Josiah Wormwood. Perhaps choosing a more biblical name makes the conflict sound more epic. More epic than Batman vs. Jeremy, that's for sure. Sorry to any Jeremys watching. And they also give him a supervillain name, the Interrogator, due to his ability to get information out of people with his inventive death traps. While the comic was very rapid-paced, it was only about 19 pages in total, the episode shows us more of Wormwood, who is seen torturing a man with quicksand at an abandoned amusement park at the beginning of the episode. In the comic, Wormwood is just a man doing a job, and he doesn't seem to take all that much pleasure in it. He's just in it for the money. In the episode, Wormwood is far more calculating and menacing. It could just be actor Bud Cort's performance, which is pretty creepy, but I get a stronger sense of sadism from the animated Wormwood. Just look at the glee on his face when he traps and torments Batman. He clearly takes a lot of pleasure in tormenting him. Presumably because he's not much of a physical match for Batman, given how easily Batman defeats him at the end of the episode. I really like the way that Wormwood stares ahead wide-eyed in terror and casually hands the key to Batman. That was a very nice touch. Another key difference is that Wormwood has multiple plots, not just the hot lamp at the waxworks. His first plan involves a runaway train and a damsel in distress, not at all imaginative really, which Batman escapes with relative ease. But never let it be said that Wormwood doesn't learn from his mistakes. The next trap at the waxworks has a backup plan within it. This is the same scheme from the comic, with the incredibly hot light aimed at Batman. But when Batman smashes the bulb, it releases a toxic nerve agent which forces Batman to surrender. And Wormwood is a man of his word. Batman surrenders the cowl, and that's the end of it. He leaves with no intentions of ever crossing paths with Batman again. Oh, how little he knew. Many fans have drawn comparisons between Wormwood and another Batman villain, the Riddler. Both characters are intellectuals who enjoy challenging Batman's mind, and both thrive on creating elaborate schemes that test the limits of the Dark Knight's detective skills. But while the Riddler is driven by a need for validation, constantly trying to prove that he's smarter than Batman because he knows that he isn't, Wormwood is more about forcing his will on other people. His attempts at snagging Batman's cape and cowl are less about recognition and more about making Batman follow his orders. Where the Riddler seeks to be the puzzle that Batman can't solve, Wormwood gets gratification from tormenting him. This distinction is important because, while the Riddler often sees his crimes as a secondary objective, outsmarting Batman always comes first, Wormwood's primary goal is to break people and then get paid. They are equally important. He's a man willing to put Batman's life in danger in order to satisfy his need to control. Where the Riddler might taunt Batman with riddles and puzzles, Wormwood is content to use trickery, manipulation, and psychological games to achieve his ends. But what really sets Wormwood apart is his lack of interest in exposing Batman's secret identity. Throughout the episode, Wormwood seems to be less concerned with who Batman is under the mask. Note, the revelation that Batman was wearing a secondary mask under his cowl doesn't bother him in the slightest. All he wants to do is force Batman to willingly give up his cowl. This difference in approach highlights the psychological divergence between the two characters. The Riddler is all about ego and proving his superiority, while Wormwood's obsession lies in diminishing other people. Maybe then he might feel like more of a man. However, the irony is that for as much control as Wormwood thought he had, in reality he was dancing to Batman's tune. Batman had impersonated Baron Josek to hire Wormwood in order to lull him into a false sense of security and reveal where he had hidden his stolen loot. Batman knew that the only way to get Wormwood to willingly reveal his secrets was to let him think that he had already won. Now, it is a convoluted scheme, I agree, but it worked. I suppose Batman could have just beaten the secrets out of him, but that would probably be an even less interesting episode. This episode really highlights Batman's sense of drama, as if him dressing up as Dracula each night doesn't highlight his flair for the dramatic. Batman clearly enjoys impersonating the Baron and has perfect dramatic timing, switching from the Baron's voice to his own at just the right moment to cause the most terror in Wormwood. As much as I quite like some of these elements, overall, the Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy generally falls short. The quality of the animation is not the best. It's certainly among the lower end of Studio Dong Yang's work on the series. Maybe it's just the ultra high resolution of the Blu-ray release, but you can really see how patchy the line work is on this episode. And there's a fundamental flaw with Wormwood's schemes. He sends his victims puzzling notes to lure them into his traps. If he had sent me one of those notes, I'd probably give up trying to solve it after 30 seconds and forget all about it, leaving Wormwood patiently waiting. He really relies on his target's intelligence and curiosity in order to get them into his traps. And then there's the fact that he just lacks the charisma and complexity of some of Batman's other rogues, which makes him feel like a bit of a one-dimensional antagonist. That would certainly explain why he wasn't used again, that and his lengthy prison sentence. Ultimately, the Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy is one of the less memorable episodes of Batman the Animated Series for several reasons. While I like the dynamic between Batman and Wormwood, it never manages to resonate in the same way as some of the series' standout episodes. One of the main reasons for this is the relatively low stakes. Unlike other stories in the series, which often involve deep personal stakes for the characters involved, the Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy feels more like a simple heist story. While the stakes seem to be personal for Batman, ultimately he needed Wormwood to win, and these stakes don't carry the same weight as some of the more emotionally charged episodes of the series. While the Cape and the Cowl Conspiracy may not be one of the most memorable episodes of Batman the Animated Series, it still offers valuable insights into Batman's character and his controlling nature. And for all its flaws, it's not actually that bad. As I often say, being one of the worst episodes of Batman the Animated Series is kinda like being the world's shortest giant. It may not be as towering as the series' best episodes, but it is still way above the other cartoons of the time. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. Next time. On Monday, I'll be going back to my recent The Batman villain poll to talk about the character that came in second place. It's the tragedy of Ethan Bennett, also known as Clayface. And on Friday, I'll be covering a rarely discussed villain from the futuristic world of Neo Gotham. We're going to talk about the malformed Big Time and how he represents the path not taken by the Batman of tomorrow. Hope to see you then.